In the forgotten archives of the Wisconsin Diocese lies a collection of documents, buried by the Catholic Church for over 160 years. These papers detail a horrifying truth: the systematic disappearance of 23 nuns from St. Mary's Convent near Lake Michigan between 1854 and 1862. Church officials dismissed these records as mere administrative errors, but testimony from 3 separate diocesan inspectors, along with a cache of private correspondence discovered in a sealed wall cavity during renovations, tells a story so horrific that even hardened historians question whether such evil could truly exist within hallowed walls. What follows is the first comprehensive account of what many consider the most disturbing case of religious corruption in American history, a case the Catholic Church has spent a fortune to ensure you would never hear. Before we continue with the story of St. Mary's Convent, I must ask, if you find this tale unsettling, subscribe to our channel for more historically accurate accounts of America's darkest religious secrets. Our community of mystery seekers spans all 50 states. Where are you listening from tonight? Leave a comment below. Now, let us return to the Wisconsin countryside of 1854, where our story begins. Morning fog hung heavy over Lake Michigan as Bishop William Quarter's carriage rolled through the gates of what would become St. Mary's Convent. The church had purchased the sprawling estate, a former lumber baron's mansion surrounded by 30 acres of dense woodland, to establish the first major Catholic institution in the largely Protestant Wisconsin territory. This push was strategic, part of a broader effort to plant Catholic influence in America's rapidly developing frontier, where Protestant denominations were already gaining ground. The limestone mansion, with its 3 imposing wings and bell tower, stood in stark contrast to the humble wooden churches dotting the landscape. Its central building, constructed in 1842, featured Gothic arches and narrow windows that watched like eyes over the countryside. The east wing was intended for the nuns' quarters, the west for an orphanage and infirmary. Behind it all stood a small chapel, its spire visible for miles. Local Protestant families viewed the arriving nuns with suspicion. Their black habits and Irish accents marked them as outsiders in a community of German and Scandinavian settlers. The hierarchical, secretive nature of Catholicism felt foreign and threatening here. Papists, muttered Elijah Hoffman, a local Lutheran elder, watching the black-robed figures process into the chapel. They'll corrupt our children with their idolatry. His companion, Wilhelm Schmidt, nodded grimly. Such sentiments reflected the deep religious tensions that would form the backdrop for the coming tragedy. St. Mary's will serve as a beacon of God's mercy in this wilderness, Bishop Quarter announced at the consecration. His voice echoed in the new chapel, where light filtered through stained glass, coloring the wooden pews. Under Mother Superior Catherine Murphy, this convent will offer shelter to orphans, comfort to widows, and healing to the sick. He introduced the 3 women who would lead: Mother Superior Catherine, stern and commanding at 42, Sister Elizabeth Foster, 38, plump and maternal, assigned to the orphanage, and Sister Margaret Clark, 35, tall and serious, in charge of the infirmary. 20 younger nuns, most newly arrived from Ireland, completed the community. They stood in a perfect line, heads bowed, as the bishop blessed each by name. That first evening, Mother Catherine addressed her sisters in the chilly refectory. "The Lord has called us to this wilderness. We will face hardships unknown to our Eastern counterparts. We will encounter suspicion. But we shall overcome through devotion and sacrifice." The young nuns, far from home, clung to her words like a lifeline. The convent quickly established its rhythm. Prayers began with matins at 3 a.m., the bells cutting through the darkness, summoning nuns to the cold chapel. Latin chants filled the air 7 times daily. Between prayers, they ran an orphanage, tended the sick, and maintained gardens. Their work earned grudging respect from the locals, especially after Sister Margaret's remedies proved effective during a harsh winter. But inside those limestone walls, a subtle shift was taking place. Mother Catherine's leadership, initially strict, turned autocratic. Minor infractions now brought severe penances. Sisters knelt on dried peas, fasted for days, confessed intimate sins publicly. A climate of fear began to seep into the corridors. The first strange disappearance came in April 1855. Sister Agnes failed to appear for morning prayers. "Sister Agnes has been called to assist at our mission in Minnesota," Mother Catherine announced at breakfast, her tone forbidding questions. No one had seen her pack or leave. Her cloak still hung on its peg. But in convent life, no one dared challenge the Mother Superior. 3 months later, Sister Bernardet vanished in similar fashion. Then 3 more nuns were suddenly transferred to distant missions. Each departure followed the same pattern. A young nun, often noted for her beauty or gentle nature, would simply be gone one morning, with a vague explanation and no chance for farewells. Letters from worried families to these supposed new posts would return months later with odd, formal responses, all in the same handwriting. Sister Teresa Donovan, strong and direct, dared to voice concerns. "It's always the youngest and prettiest who are called away," she whispered to Sister Mary Collins in the garden one summer day. The following week, Sister Teresa was gone, called to a retreat in Montreal, they said. That evening, Sister Mary found a torn page from Teresa's prayer book tucked under her pillow. "Something is wrong. If I disappear, tell Father Ryan." By 1857, of the original 20 junior nuns, only 12 remained. The convent presented a normal face to the outside world, but within, fear was a tangible presence. The remaining sisters spoke in whispers, avoided being alone, and watched in terror as their numbers dwindled. One cold night in January 1858, Sister Mary awoke to muffled sounds from the next cell. Through the wall, she heard Sister Rebecca sobbing, then Mother Catherine's sharp whisper, "You will come with us now. Make any noise and you'll regret it." Footsteps shuffled, then silence. Then a muffled cry, quickly cut off, and the sound of a body being dragged. The next morning, Mother Catherine announced Sister Rebecca's call to a Dakota Territory mission. Soon after, while sweeping outside Mother Catherine's office, Sister Mary overheard a conversation that froze her blood. "The doctor says this one will fetch a higher price," said Sister Elizabeth, her voice cold and unfamiliar. "Men pay extra for the innocent ones." "We need to be more careful with the timing," Sister Margaret replied. 3 in 1 month raises questions. "The bishop is easily managed," Mother Catherine said dismissively. "Another donation to his cathedral fund and his questions disappear." Then, lowering her voice, "What about the Collins girl? She watches too closely." "We'll wait," Mother Catherine decided. "She's too plain to fetch much. Rebecca will keep the doctor's clients satisfied for now." Sister Mary fled, her mind reeling. The missing nuns, a doctor, clients. The pieces formed a terrifying picture. She made a desperate decision. During her weekly egg collection, her only unsupervised moment outside the walls, she slipped a hastily written note and her silver confirmation cross into the pocket of Jimmy Fletcher, the farm boy who delivered milk. "Please deliver this to Father Thomas at St. Joseph's. Tell no one. Lives depend on it." The note read, "Something evil happens at St. Mary's. Nuns disappearing, not sent away as claimed. I fear for my life. Please send help. Sister Mary Collins." Father Thomas Ryan, the young parish priest, had his own doubts about Mother Catherine. He took the note and the cross to his superior, Bishop John Henney in Milwaukee. But the bishop dismissed his concerns. "Mother Catherine has been most generous to our cathedral fund. Focus on your parish duties, Father." Undaunted, Father Ryan used his official capacity to visit St. Mary's unannounced. He found a convent in quiet disarray, far fewer children and nuns than reported, a locked north wing, and a feeling of profound wrongness. While Sister Elizabeth was distracted, he slipped away and found a locked door at the end of a corridor. From behind it came a whimper. "Is someone there?" he whispered. A hoarse female voice answered, "Father, please help us." Before he could respond, Mother Catherine's voice cut through the gloom. She stood flanked by Sister Margaret and a burly, threatening man named Callahan. "This area is cloistered. Your presence is most inappropriate." Father Ryan was escorted out. As his buggy cleared the gates, he whipped his horse into a gallop. He bypassed the bishop and sent an urgent telegram to Archbishop John Hughes in New York. Archbishop Hughes acted swiftly, dispatching his personal secretary, Monsignor Patrick Kelly, for a surprise inspection. What they uncovered was a tableau of horrors. In a locked storage room in the north wing, they found 5 nuns, pale, malnourished, and abused. One, Sister Josephine, was heavily pregnant. The stench was overwhelming. "They're preparing us for the doctor," whispered Sister Rebecca, her eyes hollow. "For the house in Chicago. Men pay more for nuns, for brides of Christ." Elsewhere, priests found shelves of laudanum and chloroform in Sister Margaret's quarters, and financial records showing regular, substantial deposits. Coded entries read, transferred Sister Agnes. Commission $400 and package delivered to Chicago establishment. Condition excellent. The truth emerged. Mother Catherine, Sister Elizabeth, and Sister Margaret were impostors who had murdered the real Mother Superior and taken over. They were running a trafficking operation, selling young nuns to brothels catering to wealthy, depraved clients. Girls from the orphanage met similar fates. Those who resisted too strongly were murdered and buried in the vegetable garden. The church moved to contain the scandal. The convent was demolished, the land sold. The surviving nuns were silenced with threats of excommunication. Bishop Henny was quietly removed. Mother Catherine and Sister Margaret escaped, vanishing without a trace. Only Sister Elizabeth faced a form of justice, dying catatonic in an asylum. But the horror did not end there. Investigations revealed a network stretching to Chicago, St. Louis, and New Orleans. Powerful men were implicated, but cases mysteriously collapsed. The church buried the records, but fragments survived, in personal journals, whispered testimonies, and the haunted memories of those who endured. Decades later, in 1912, the mummified remains of two elderly women were found in a Veracruz mansion, alongside religious items and a journal detailing continued operations. They were identified as Mother Catherine and Sister Margaret, who had apparently poisoned themselves. Beneath the garden lay more victims. Today, the land where St. Mary's once stood holds suburban homes. The official records remain sealed. But on certain autumn nights, when the fog rolls in from Lake Michigan, some say you can still hear the echoes, faint voices chanting prayers, or muffled cries that never quite fade. Remember them. Remember Sister Agnes, Sister Bernardet, Sister Teresa, and all the others. They lived. They suffered. Their suffering mattered. This is not just a story of evil hiding behind a sacred facade, but a warning about the cost of silence and the enduring need for justice. If this story has chilled you, share it. Like this video. Subscribe for more journeys into America's hidden darkness. What do you believe still lies buried? Comment below. We will see you in the next video.